In 2020, suicide was the second leading cause of death for people ages 25 to 34. Yesterday, we talked about the 10 to 14 age group. Now we're going to focus on the little bit older folks. Since 2000, Indiana's suicide rate has been higher than the national average. Young adults experience mental health challenges at higher rates than any other age group, resulting in higher suicide risk. And joining me now to talk more about this via Zoom is clinical social worker Jenny Volker. Jenny, so good to see you this morning. Like I mentioned, we talked about that age group of 10 to 14-year-olds yesterday. I mean, just the amount of children harming themselves. But today we want to talk about the 25 to 34. Why is it, and what do you think are some of the factors contributing to this risk of these younger adults committing suicide?
Yeah, we usually look at risk factors and warning signs. Risk factors are those things that can happen within our lives and sometimes add up. So it can be that history of the anxiety and depression or traumatic events, grief and loss of a job, loss of a relationship. It could be lack of that connection and support, as well as a family history of suicide.
Here lately, we're hearing so much about people feeling lonely and not connecting and feeling that sense of community. I think maybe a combination too, and maybe you can shed some more light on this with the pandemic and then also social media. I think a lot of times we're not connecting like we used to.
Yeah, and having thoughts of suicide can feel incredibly lonely and isolating. So it adds this additional layer of that lack of connection. So it's really important when someone is experiencing that they know that there is help, there is support.
I often wonder, as we talk about some of the specific warning signs, when someone, talks about wanting to die, I often, you think that that's a specific cry out for help. It doesn't always go like that. What are some of the things that you think that people are saying or doing that can make us really say, okay, I might need to step in here to help?
Yeah, well, we always take incredibly seriously anytime someone says they're wanting to die or take their own life. But we also might see other things, expressions of feelings of helplessness or hopelessness, talking about being a burden to others, and then changes in behavior, increases in the use of drugs or alcohol, extreme mood swings, as well as changes in eating or sleeping habits. All of those can be warning signs that we need to provide that support and take action immediately.
I know listening is a big one, and without, trying to maybe solve the issue or not to judge, how do we do that better to really not make it worse, but to actually help the situation?
Well, the first step before we even get to the listening is we have to ask the question. We have to ask if someone is thinking about suicide, thinking about taking their life, and those are hard words to say, and they're important words to say. They can bring a lot of relief to someone. And then just not listening to find solutions for somebody or provide all of the reasons that they shouldn't be feeling that way. Those are the types of things we want to avoid, really listening to understand what someone is experiencing.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you being with us this morning and trying to help others and getting the word out. Here's some information, too. You can call 911. There's that newer 988. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline is another important number we wanted to put up there for you. If you would like more information on suicide prevention and awareness, thank you so much for being with us. Fox59.com.